Hello folks, this is Danny Crumno, and I thought that I would make a video, and this is going to be aimed at first time reloaders here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to video every step from beginning to the end of reloading some 308 Winchesters. Now, I'm going to tell you that some of the steps that I take are not especially necessary in every case, such as I run mine back through a body die after I resize, and I manually decap, take the primers out and stuff like that. But this should give you an idea of what it takes to reload 308 Winchester, and some of my rounds are very accurate. So I'll get started here, and these are all going to be pieced together later. You'll see a little bit of my equipment and all that, and while I mention it, some of my equipment you can't buy. Such as I use an old Texan reloader. It's a turret press, and this thing ain't been made in years and years. I was lucky. I stole it at a garage sale for about $50, and I've had it at least 20 years myself, and it was extinct when I got it. So without a bunch of talking and stuff, I'm going to get started here. And some of this, you're not going to see my face. I'm going to try to get you a good view of what I'm doing. And it's probably going to be shaky, but you'll get to see what's going on. Alright. Thanks for watching. Okay, the very first step is going to be get a shell holder that fits 30 caliber. This is 308, so I've got a shell holder. This is a Lyman. I don't know what kind of press it is, but anyhow, this is a Lyman press, and I have here an RCPS universal decapper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my trash can underneath it here, and we're going to decap a few cases. Not much to it. Now I'm going to do a bunch of these, so there will be some gaps here, and that one didn't come out. And there's a problem with some 308. If you'll notice, that right there is a crimped primer. So here we got another thing that we got to do. I'm going to set this down while I get my little reamer here thing. Okay, I'm going to use that right there to get this crimp. All I'm going to do is just put it in the primer, twist it a few times, put a little bevel on it there. Okay, may need a little more. Now I do have my Swager dies and all that, but I just as well prefer it to do it like that. Alright, we're back to reloading. Back to decapping. And that one didn't come out. My primers are hung up. Of course, when you start filming like this is when you have problems. This has a hole here. Usually this goes real easy. That's good and tight, so it should be falling out. I have a little problem here. This little alignment thing really holds on to that shell holder. And actually, if you can see there, that's not so bad of a thing, but it is another crimped primer. So we're going to have to lower this down just a little bit so they will fall out. I wasn't prepared for this. All I'm doing is lowering the die body here on this universal decapper here. Now let's see if I can get this back in. There we go. And that one fell out. Okay, this is another crimped primer. If it had been something different, it would have fell right out. Cut a little bevel in it with my little RCBS tool here. Alright, let's do another one. That one went good. You can tell the ones that's crimped because they really put up some resistance. That one went good. That one went good, but it didn't offer a whole lot of resistance. That one went good. Like I said, this is going to be shaky. That one went good. And this is a decapping, a universal decapper die. And this is on a Lyman little cheap press. I've had this stuff for years. So, anyhow, that should show you enough there to know how that's done. It's amazing that the first couple I got gave me problems, but they were crimped. You got to expect that with with 308. This is just regular pickup brass, picked up off the range somewhere. Okay, that's enough to show you how that step goes. And I'm going to decap a bunch more and then we'll do another segment. Okay, I'm going to do a little addendum here about decapping. If you'll notice there, well, let me get some light. Most people are going to decap. If you notice that little center part there, that's going to be in your sizer die, and most people are going to use that to decap instead of doing it manually like I do it, and that's fine as long as it works. I wind up breaking them most of the time. Also, I have one of these things. This is a Harvey Universal D-primer, and quite honestly, this thing is a pain in the butt. It does work, but I'm going to show you how hard it is to use. You have to put your case up here, and the problem is finding the primer hole for it to go down, because it will not fit until you find the primer hole. Then you press it, out pops your primer. Now, as long as you can find that primer hole, that works pretty good. But it's not always that easy, like this one. Alright, just pop it here, out pops the primer. This is a Harvey D-primer. It does work, but it's a whole lot easier to use this universal decapper here. Just put one in there and it knocks it out and you're finished. You don't have to find the hole. It guides it through there. And most people are going to do this on their sizer die as far as depriming. But this is the way I like to do it. I like to do it right here. This thing is RCBS Universal. Is really sturdy, so I've never broke it. But as you see, this works good. And that right there was another crimped primer. So we're going to get that out. My little handy dandy RCBS. No, this is a Wilson here, but RCBS makes one identical to it. I have that one too. We're going to cut that crimp out of there. And that one's ready to go. So, okay, I covered the different ways to deprime or decap, and we'll get on with the next step. Okay, folks, now we've reached the next step. Now, the way I do this is with Dillon Case Lubricant. Now, this is lanolin. They have recipes on the internet to make this stuff yourself. About all it is lanolin and alcohol mixture. I just go ahead and buy mine because this stuff lasts a long time. You can also get this stuff here, the Imperial sizing stuff, and rub it on with your fingers, but that's too much trouble. Plus, one thing you gotta remember when doing this is that you must get this stuff inside the neck here. If you don't, you're gonna have problems. I give it 3 squirts, and if you notice I'm about a 45-degree angle there, I turn it, give it 3 squirts, turn it, 3 squirts, and I'm intentionally letting it get down inside those necks there, because you need it there just as bad as you do the die body or the case body. Now, the next step is actually going to be letting this stuff dry. You cannot use this stuff while it's wet. If you do, you're going to get a stuck case. And that's where, a lot of people make the mistake. They spray it on and then instantly start trying to resize. Now, I'm telling you, that's a mistake. You gotta let it dry. And it only takes 3 or 4 minutes to let it dry. And if also you notice that my cases are dirty, you're going to have to clean these, but mine are not just really bad. So the last steps to case preparation will be getting them nice and shiny, and I'll show you how I do it, which is probably different from a lot of other people, and I'll explain that later. But I'm going to let this dry for a while, and I'm going to actually get at least one more block done before I go on to the next step. Okay folks, we're here at the next step. These things have dried pretty good. Now I'm going to run them through the 308 sizer die. If you notice that as it goes up pretty easy, and then when I start to come down, it hangs right there. Now that is where it's sizing the neck. That's why you have to make sure that you get a little of that lubricant inside the neck. If you use that Imperial or whatever, you're going to have to get a brush or get something. Now this die should be adjusted just like this one, where it just barely cams over there. And like I said, this is an old Texan press, but it's a goodie. So this is the resize process right here. And I'll have to go through all of these to get them all resized. You have to resize before you do anything else. The only thing, I guess, a lot of people go ahead and, well, I think I threw that one in the wrong deal. A lot of people will go ahead and clean them before resizing. That's good, but mine are not that dirty. I know they look pretty dingy, but the reason they do is most of them have been shot from a suppressed rifle. My son, he kind of does a good job at depleting ammo sometimes. But anyhow, I'm going to have to go through all of these before we start the next step. And the one reason is that as you resize these, the neck sometimes stretches. Now, if you're resizing and you get a lot of stretch, sometimes the beginning reloaders don't think about lubricating that neck, and you will actually stretch as you come up. It has a little ball that goes through there. That's why you must lubricate the inside of that neck. So I'm going to do the rest of these, and then I'll show you my next step. Okay folks, I'm back. I have run these all through the resizer. Now all of these have been resized, and I have culled several through here that just seemed a little harder than normal to resize. And folks, those were shot in rifles with oversized chambers. There was something wrong with them. They're not worth your trouble. Just go ahead and throw them away. So this next step, I'm going to rotate this little turret press here. And this is something that I do that probably 90% of reloaders don't do is that I now am going to run these 308s through a body die. They have been resized, and these are good dies, but I have one bolt action rifle that has a little tighter chamber, and if I don't run these through that body die, it may or may not bolt down like it should. So my next step is to run these through a body die. And if you'll notice, that one there, it actually resized it some. I don't know. I like that body die. I don't know if I got it from Redding or RCBS or who. I don't even remember. I'd turn it around, but it's too hard. I don't want to get it out of kilter there. And I'm going to run these all through. And again, this body die, it fits. It just cams over to the bottom with your shell holder there. And works just like the sizing die. And I can tell these, maybe that my sizing die is just getting a little worn out. I don't know. I've had it a number of years, but like I said, this is probably optional to run these through this body die, but it's just something I do. So I'll get all these ran, and then we'll get back with you to the next step. Okay, we went through the size die. I put them all through the body die, and now we're on the other tip. We've already decapped, so now it's time to trim them. So we're going to trim a few. Now to deburr, camfer the outside, and now clean the primer pocket. So, one down, 150 or so to go. Let's do another one there. Of course, I've already got this stuff set up. It would take a lot longer if I had to set it all up. What I'm doing, I'm shaking those little filings out of my case into the trash there, because they make such a mess. Tighten it up just a little. And that one's already sharp. So we'll make sure it's beveled on the inside, campered. Alright, let's try this one. Yeah, that one needed a little trimming. And I am trimming these at 2.0. Actually, That is just a little undersized, but it'll be fine. One thing that I don't like about the newer RCBS Caitlin's gauges, they don't have a lock on them. They used to have a lock on them, and that's something I really liked, was that lock. I'm going to test this one, see how it comes out. Alright. Yeah, that's just right. Okay. Alright. One more on video here. Okay, now we'll get the rest of these trimmed, and then we'll be on to the next step. Okay folks, we're going to the next step now. We've got them all trimmed, and we're gonna clean them up. Now you have to get all this crap off these cases, because I've been told that it put too much pressure on the bolt face, all of that, but you don't want crappy looking bullets like that. So we're going to get it off here. And again, I'm going to tell you straight up that the absolute best way to do this is in a tumbler with stainless steel pins, but I don't do it that way for the simple reason that I have never really found a way to get those pins out. Roll them in a separator. The separator really needs to be submerged in water, because the water causes those pins to stick. And I'm always scared that some of those pins will stick inside the case. And I could just see a stainless steel pin going down my barrel, ruining the barrel, or even worse, ruining one of my suppressors. You know, you wait a year to get these suppressors, and then one of them stainless steel pins goes down and puts a hole in it. That ain't good. So I don't use any pins, and it seems to work just about as good just using plain water. So here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to fill this up with water. And it don't matter if it's hot or cold or whatever. But when I say fill it up, I don't mean fill it up to the top. I want to cover all the cases, but I want to leave some tumbling room too, because that's the whole deal. You want them to tumble around. Alright, that ought to be enough water. Alright. Dawn dishwashing detergent. All you need is a good squirt. For some reason I couldn't squirt it, but anyhow, I got it in there. Now, this is Lemmy Shine. I'm going to get a good little dose in here. Most people say a 9mm shell full is all you need. For some reason in our water, I seem to need more than that. And I don't think you can get too much. Don't know. And like all other things that go wrong, it won't come out. There we go. I probably got enough for a 308 shell in there. Anyhow, now we're going to close it up. I'll button it all up, and then we're going to take it out there and let it tumble. No pins, just straight water, Dawn, and Lemmy Shine. Alright, we're going to pause it. Okay, we're back out here. This is a Thumbler's tumbler, and it's as old as the hills, but it works fine. We're going to be using this now. I'm probably going to let it run at least 3 hours, maybe a little longer. And I guess I should get that away. Then we'll get it out and we'll do another step. Okay, we've been tumbling for a while, and it's time to get this out and go on to the next step, which is gonna be to get all the crap out of here. I want to try to show you how relaxed. Now that's normal. Sometimes it's even worse than that. Notice how nice and shiny they are. Now the problem is I got to rinse all these off and try to get some of this out of there. So here we go. See, they're nice and shiny. And I didn't have any pins in there at all. That's just water with Dawn dishwashing soap and Lemmy Shine. That's all that was. But I'm not a fan of this. I wish that I could do it dry all the time, but I know I can't because it just doesn't do the job that this does. Look at those cases. I had to go fix a water leak for my neighbor. It was something like 9 or 10 degrees last night, and his outside faucet froze up. So I left this tumbling longer than I would have, but it still does a good job. Normally I'd be doing this outside, but unfortunately it's too cold. Here in Texas we're used to 116, but not 16. Trying to keep this need to get all that soap and stuff out of there. That's why I'm rinsing it. This does a good job even without the pins, so I see no reason to put pins in here. Which will bring me to my next step. It looks fairly clear coming out of there now. Okay, that's what it looks like. Nice and clean. Still got one more step though. We're going to do that here in just a minute. Okay, here's my next step. This is a Frankford Arsenal wet tumbler or separator, media separator, and I'm going to get all the water I can out with that. So here we go. Alright, get this closed up. Okay, there you go. Alright. You know, I'm sorry I gotta keep setting this down, but that pretty much has to be. Now, them things are good and clean, nice and shiny. There's a few in there that's not, well, that was good and shiny. It was just silver. But they're wet now, so you can't load them just yet. So here we go with another step. This is a Frankford Arsenal, I don't know what you call it, vibrator. Alright, we're going to put them in here. Okay, got them in there. Now I'm going to put some media in there. Okay, I've got my media put in there. Now we're going to put some Dillon Rapid Polish in here. I think it calls for 4 capfuls. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. We're going to get this all sealed up. Hard doing this with one hand. If you notice that they will start agitating in there, going from top to bottom, and that'll give them even more cleaning, even shinier. So we're going to let those run for a couple hours. I'll clean up my mess and then we'll get back. Okay, I'm back, and it looks like we went long enough, and I'm gonna get the cases out here. They should be nice and clean. This is almost our last step. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is separate the media. Uh-oh. This is going to be a Dillon media separator here. I used to always gripe because this was so big, but it's kind of nice to have one that size. Okay. Here we go. Nice, clean cases. We're going to get these put up, and it will be time to actually start reloading here in a little bit. Okay. Now we are actually going to finally start the reloading process. The first step, RCBS primer and a primer tray. I'm not going to load all these in here because they'll probably flip or whatever. I'm going to load 50 in. Alright. CCI large rifle standard. Loaded all the primers in there. I always put this little piece of rubber to keep it from bouncing because it flips them over before I can get it locked. Okay, this slides in here like this, and we are almost ready to rock and roll. Alright, here we go. Load the have a primer. Gonna do another one. The RCBS has a universal shell holder. There we go. Got an unhappy pussycat there. Alright, that's how you prime them. I'm going to go through, I'm not going to videotape all these, but I'm going to prime the rest of these, and then we will go to the next step. Although actually we are reloading now, so all the others was case preparation. Okay, I'm back, and now we are at the final step of actually getting these reloaded. So I've got a helper here. She's gonna hold this. Alright, I'm gonna be using Hodgkin Benchmark powder. I'll be using 43 grains of Benchmark, and I'm going to be loading 125 grain Pro Hunter Spitzer bullets. I found that these are just devastating on hogs, so that's what we're going to be loading. So I'm going to start out here. The first thing I'm going to do is get my cedar die up. This is the cedar die. I've already got my shell holder in there. So my son is left-handed, and this was set up for him, so it's a little bit off for me. Gonna put a few bullets in the tray here. Alright, we've got an RCBS powder drop here, and it should be pretty close to calibrated for the drop. We're going to see. One of the worst mistakes that reloaders make is tapping this twice at the bottom, twice at the top. Don't do that. Throw it one time, and I've already messed up because I don't need to be throwing that in my case there. I need to weigh it. Unfortunately, most rifles, with the exception of H335, need to have every charge weighed. Now this one is going to be real close. Alright, that's going to be 43 grains right there. Put the funnel up there. Drop the powder in. Got a little static electricity, it didn't drop. Okay, gonna put the case up there, bullet on top, and seat it. And there you go, there's our first reloaded bullet. Now we're going to do a couple more just to show the sequence here. Drop. That's a little under. You're always going to find that the powder will compress just a little bit. 43 grains. And there you go. There's the second one loaded. We're going to do it one more time. I found that H335 would throw pretty good, almost exactly, but almost any other powder will not, except maybe Bullseye. Okay, that's 3 right there. Now the only other thing that I could do to these, I do have a factory crimp die to crimp the edges here, but I normally do not do that. These are just fine, just like they are, and that's going to pretty much complete from nothing to completely reloaded. So if you're wanting to know the steps, that's how you do it. I'll do this one more time. Drop the powder. You adjust how much powder right here by screwing that in and out. They're going to have to be weighed. Put it on the scale. Trickle a little bit in. By the way, this trickler here is another garage sale find. I paid $10 for that with that big weight on it. I don't know if that's homemade or what, but it works pretty good. Now, I don't know, but I hear speed kills. And I chronographed some of these at 3,100 feet per second. That's awful fast. I don't know why they're picking up that much speed, but my son and my son-in-law both killed a deer this year with these. Put them down hard. And I've killed hundreds of hogs with these bullets. So, Pro Hunter, Sierra, and now hopefully everybody knows how to reload. Thanks for watching.